Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday before Mother's Day. That's right, it is May 2nd. Yesterday was Beltane and Happy May Day. So for all of those of you who might celebrate, Happy May Day. Next Sunday is Mother's Day, and Mother's Day is one of those days where you go to brunch, or you make your mom breakfast in bed, or whoever that role is, by the way. It doesn't have to be your mother. I mean, traditionally we say it's Mother's Day, but you know, sometimes your mother is your father, and your father is your mother, and your guardian is your best friend, and whatever role or whomever plays that role for you and is your mother, happy Mother's Day to them. Give them a nice thank you. One of the traditional foods in this country for Mother's Day is Eggs Benedict. And Eggs Benedict is one of those things that looks really impressive, takes a long time to make, and you usually go out for because of one specific ingredient, and that is the Hollandaise sauce. And Hollandaise sauce is kind of a pain in the patootie to make, but if you can master a homemade from scratch Hollandaise sauce, you can pretty much get a job at any high-end restaurant or hotel doing breakfast, because it is something that takes patience, and you can't rush it, and you can't cut corners on it. It just is what it is. And today we are going to be making a Hollandaise sauce, and we're going to be making the poached eggs, which are the traditional egg for Hollandaise sauce, or for Eggs Benedict. Hollandaise, by the way, goes great on grilled asparagus and lots of veggies, so it's a very useful sauce. The other things that we're going to make today, Eggs Benedict traditionally has Canadian bacon, a little slab of ham, but not everybody eats ham for any number of reasons. Religious, cultural, traditional, they just don't like it. So we're going to be making a variation on Eggs Benedict, and there are lots of variations. There's Maryland Benedict, and Maryland Benedict has crab meat instead of, because of traditionally the crab in Maryland. Maine has their own with lobster. So we're going to be doing it with eggs Florentine, with chicken Florentine. Anytime you see the word Florentine in a menu or on a menu, or that means that there's spinach. So we are going to be using some spinach and some chicken today instead of the traditional round of ham. But you can make it with whatever meat or protein or vegetables you like. You know, that's kind of the fun of cooking, is that you can take a recipe and run with it and make changes and explore and play around with different flavors. There are some hard and fast rules, and then there are some rules that are meant to be broken or even just bent. So that's what we're going to do. So first thing we're going to do, and we're going to do this in pieces, and then we're going to stack the whole thing and show you what it looks like when it's done. First thing we're going to do is get the chicken ready. I already filleted the chicken, had it boned, cut it this way across the breast, and then cut it into 4 pieces. That's because it's all got to fit on an English muffin. And if you have a huge chicken breast, it's not going to fit very well on an English muffin. You can, like when we did chicken piccata, you can pound this into little thin plates. Not necessary, but you can. I like to leave these thicker. And the reason is I like the stack. When you serve this, it's sort of a stack. There is a half an English muffin, the chicken, the spinach, the poached egg, and then the Hollandaise sauce and some parsley on top for garnish. And so the higher the stack, the more impressive it looks. So you want to have that thickness of the chicken to give it that height. So that's just why I do it. That's why I did it this way. I'm going to heat up my pan. This is a non-stick pan. You never, ever, 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 ever you want to use a metal utensil in here, because this non-stick coating will scratch and then it becomes completely useless. And that non-stick coating isn't actually good for you to ingest, although you'd have to ingest a ton of it to actually have any reaction. But it's, just don't ruin your pans either. So make sure you never ever use metal in here. We're going to be using these, and they have the silicone tips, much safer. So just so little side tip on that. I'm going to take my chicken and I'm going to put it into my flour. I'm going to dredge it in flour, and in here is also my Trader Joe's umami, which I love. Some garlic powder, some onion powder, and some black pepper. That's it. That's all that's in here. You can do each of those ingredients separately and push them on and then dredge it through the flour. I just like to mix it in the flour. That way it's nicely universally coated all over the chicken. But that's just a personal preference, and I find it saves a couple of steps, and I really like that. So I'm going to turn on my pan, turn on my heat for my pan. I'm going to heat my pan through. That's always what you do. You always want to heat your pan through. I have a plate with a paper towel sitting over here. That way, when I am done cooking each piece of chicken, I can put it on here to just let it sit. And we're going to put it to the side while we make the hollandaise sauce and the poached eggs. We are going to pan saute this. Anytime you see pan fry or saute, you're talking about cooking on a stovetop with a small amount of fat. Saute has less fat than pan frying. Pan frying has a little bit more fat, and then deep frying has more fat than that. But anytime you see that, we're actually going to pan fry. We're actually going to saute because I like to make sure I have as little fat in my end product as possible, and the hollandaise sauce has a ton of fat all on its own. It's delicious, but it is not a low-fat meal. So I am going to thoroughly coat my nonstick pan with the fat. I don't need this for, if my pan is in good condition, I don't need this fat to keep it from sticking. I need this fat for getting the browning correct. So I'm going to push my chicken one piece at a time, making sure I get all edges dredged in flour. Do each piece. Again, I'm pushing the chicken in, making sure that my flour mixture with my spices coats the chicken piece on all sides and edges. What that flour does, beyond the spices adding flavor, is that flour helps to seal in the juices of the chicken to try to make it as moist and, I know some of you hate that word, and as tender and juicy as possible. And especially if you're going to reheat chicken later on, this can really, really, really help. You might have heard my oven beeping in the background a few moments ago. It is not because we are going to be using the oven today for this, but because I buy chicken breast in the big packages. It saves a lot of money. And then I just bake up the chicken plain. Sometimes I put umami or salt and pepper or something on it, but I just plain, and then I freeze it. And it means I just can take out a chicken breast when I need them later on. So I'm now going to wash my hands because raw chicken. Dump my flour. You cannot reuse this unless you're just doing this over and over again today. Again, you know how much I love to wash my hands on camera, or technically off camera, but while I'm filming, so that you are reminded to always wash your hands. All right. You see, and turn them over. These we clean as we go. So my husband's all kinds of excited because Eggs Benedict is one of his favorite things in the world to eat, and I don't usually make it because it does take a little extra effort. And I'm not a big breakfast cookery person. I'm not a big breakfast person. I generally eat leftovers from the night before for dinner, for breakfast. It's just the way I am. When I was going through culinary school, Chef Kai Lafitte, my chef who was teaching me, looked at me and he goes, breakfast cookery is not your thing. And I'm like, nope, never has been, never will be. But he did pay me the ultimate compliment for a chef from New Orleans, which Kai Lafitte is from New Orleans. Chef, if you're out there, do not think I forgot this. He said I make better crepes than he does. And he was a little upset about that. That was one of the few things I made that he said, from breakfast, that he said that I did better than he did. I remember Kai Lafitte. That was a long time ago, before most of you were born. So I'm just making sure the chicken browns on all sides, make sure it gets cooked all the way through, because we don't want to give anybody salmonella. It's one of those things. I do not like people getting sick in my kitchen from my cooking. It's a bad idea. Once this chicken is cooked, I'm going to put it to the side, and I'm going to go off camera, stop the recording for just a couple minutes while I get the poaching water boiling, ready to simmer, and while I get my double boiler going. And I need both today. And we've used double boilers to melt chocolate before. We're going to use the double boiler today to do two things. We're going to use it to wilt the spinach just a little bit, and we're going to use it to make the hollandaise sauce, because you can't cook the hollandaise sauce directly on a heat source because it will curdle the eggs. You'll end up with scrambled eggs, and we don't want that. And then the poached water is just getting it to a simmer. We have been talking in Nutrition and Wellness, we've been talking about the science of cooking lately and all of the different methods. And so today you're actually going to be seeing sauteing. You're going to see radiant heat from the boiling, and you're going to see a simmer. So there's lots of different methods today that you're going to actually be watching me use. And so that's kind of a cool thing. And we have made these with students. I have done this in class with my food and hospitality class last year, before COVID. We got breakfast cookery in, and the kids did do Eggs Benedict, traditional Eggs Benedict, and it was really fun. The kids had a great time with it. We did it with ham, but I did have some veggie versions for those students who didn't eat ham, and that's totally fine. So, but it was kind of fun, and it had two kitchens had to work together to get it all done, because it is hard to make this all happen with one person. In a commercial kitchen, in a restaurant, you would have one chef doing the poaching of the eggs, another chef doing the hollandaise sauce, and a third chef actually putting everything together. And so that doing this all by one person is a little bit more strategic in terms of timing. So again, we just want to make sure the chicken gets cooked all the way through, because we do not want anyone to get sick. I am actually going to take a pot lid and put it over this chicken to help keep it warm, since I do have other things to do, and I actually will end up reheating it just a little bit, because I am doing this in steps, so that half my stack isn't cold while the other while I'm waiting. But just so you know that I will put a lid over this and put it to the side so that I make sure, and I will end up reheating the chicken a little bit. At a restaurant that's doing this, you may actually have had the chicken breasts or the meat cooked ahead, and then reheated for order, and depends on the level of restaurant and the level of what you're paying, just FYI. And especially for Mother's Day, if you're going to take your mom out to brunch for something like this, they're definitely going to have cooked all of this stuff ahead, and just plate. Why? Because they may do, depending on the restaurant, 1,000 plates of Eggs Benedict in one morning on Mother's Day. It's the single biggest morning of the year for brunch. So I don't go out on Mother's Day. We're kind of doing our little Mother's Day activity today. Ironically, I'm the one cooking my Mother's Day breakfast, but that's okay. I've never followed tradition that way anyway. So, and my husband will tell you that he does not cook. He is my best sous chef though ever. All right, so I will be back in just a couple minutes. My chicken is done. I'm going to put a pot lid over this to keep it warm and keep the heat in, and then reset for the poaching and the double boiler. Be back in just a couple minutes, guys. All right, through the magic of television, we are reset. I have a deep, wide saucepan. This is my poaching pan, and it is fantastic for this. And you can see it's got a lid. It's got about half full with water and a couple teaspoons of white vinegar. And The vinegar actually works to keep your eggs together. It helps to suck the eggs together. With you poach eggs, that's the key, and you'll see why in just a few minutes. You want to work every egg individually. So we have 4 eggs because we have 4 halves of French toast, English muffins, 4 slices of chicken. So that's where this is coming. So we'll end up with 4 stacks. So each one is in its own little ingredient cup, and you'll see why. Normally, eggs last in the refrigerator for 6-8 months. I mean, they say 3 months, it's 6-8 months. The only difference is that they start to lose some of their sit-up space. They don't sit as high. So you want to use the freshest eggs as possible, because they do, over time, as they get older, they do start to spread out a little bit more. And with a poached egg, you want it as tight as possible. So the freshest eggs you can get really does help. So this is from a brand new dozen. Conversely, though, my egg yolks for my Hollandaise sauce, and this is just 8 egg yolks in here for my Hollandaise sauce, those doesn't matter. Now, I have had these sitting at room temperature, and you're going to see why. It has to do with how fast the process. So we need to whisk these and some lemon juice together, and we need them to get doubled in volume. Egg yolks double in volume a lot better if they're at room temperature. So I'm going to pour them not in the glass bowl. I'm going to use a metal bowl, and you'll see why with the double boiler. And I'm going to put my lemon juice in. How much lemon juice you use is really up to how tangy you like it. Good rule of thumb is about 2 teaspoons, or a teaspoon for every 4 egg yolks. We like ours really tangy, so I'm going to actually use not quite all of this, but this is all freshly done. So, but I'm going to, because we really like ours with a nice tang to it. And then I'm going to whisk. And I'm going to whisk as fast and as much as I can, because I want them to add a ton of air. And that air that I'm adding will actually create an emulsification. Cooking, it's science. We're going to create an emulsification with butter, and we really need it to have as much volume as possible to hold that fat in of the butter. You need a whole cup of butter. It's a 1 stick for every 4 yolks. It's a lot of butter. So I want it to turn sort of a paler yellow color. And you notice it's not on the heat yet. I really want to make sure I do not cook my egg yolks and turn it into scrambled eggs. So I want it on the heat as little as possible. But the heat will temper it and help for and kill the bacteria, but it will also help to get the emulsification with the butter going. Because cooking is science. And the reason you need the metal bowl is because of the double boiler. You can see this pot up front has just water in it. We're going to use it for 2 things. One is to lightly wilt the spinach, and the other is as a double boiler for this, for the Hollandaise. You can see it's becoming lighter and lighter in color from the lemon juice and the air. And yes, your shoulder gets tired. This is so much easier with an extra set of hands. If only I had 4 hands. All right, so the water for the poaching is just about boiling. As soon as it boils, I turn it way down to a simmer, boiling, bubbling, simmer, just that tiny, tiny low boil. And what I'm going to do then is slide each of these eggs individually in 1, 2, 3, 4. If you start at 12 and go clockwise, you'll always know which ones comes next. And then you know which ones went in first and come out first. This is amazing for what this is, okay? When you go to take the poached eggs out, the worst thing you can do is squeeze them because they'll pop. They're like a little balloon. You want to just slide them in and out. So you're going to slide them gently because you want that egg yolk to stay together. So this was actually perfect. The slotted pulls out the water, and this doesn't break the egg. So this is right here, ready to go. You need 4 minutes of cooking time with the lid on. You want it to just start to cook without that. I've got my boil, turn it down to low to my simmer. So just got a simmer and it's coming down. I want to let the water cool just a little bit. And I'm actually going to put this right here and slide it in. There's one, two, that one kind of slid around a little bit. So I want to make sure this one goes to the side. Make my life a little easier when I go to take them out. And I know I'm not following that 12 o'clock rule because one of them slid around, so I'm just trying to keep them separate because you don't want it to become one big egg mess. Now, they have started to turn white. You can't really see that, but stick it. See? Now I'm going to turn off the heat, cover them up, and start my kitchen timer for 4 minutes. And that's it. That's poached eggs. All right, so here we go with this. I've got my double boiler going. I've got my eggs, and I'm going to hold it over this. And then as I do this, I'm going to pour in a little bit of melted butter at a time. The melted butter has allowed to cool just a little bit. And the advantage of that is that it won't cook my eggs. And you need to stir. And notice how little tiny butter I put in there. And it's going to take a little while. And if you don't think this is going to be hot enough to temper your eggs, feel my fingers right now. The radiant heat rising from the boiling water is enough to burn me. Steam, it's a thing. Boiling water is 212 degrees. I guarantee you my fingers are warm. Now, this is why this is easier with 2 people. One person can pour the egg, and the butter, and one person can stir, and then you can switch. So your arms don't get too tired, and your fingers don't get too hot. My fingers have long ago lost quite a bit of their feeling. At this point, it's not the heat that's bothering me, it's my shoulder. This is why Hollandaise sauce is such a pain. And why, if you can make a Hollandaise sauce from scratch without breaking it, you can write your job application anywhere. I'm resting it on the side of the bowl. It is not touching the water because my wrist is starting to get tired. This is a definite, you want to use unsalted butter for this, by the way. Trust me. You can always add salt to it. You cannot take it away. I'm about 3/4 of the way through the butter. is a good thing because I need to break for just a second. And I need to take out my poached eggs. Don't need them quite yet. Just a couple minutes. I'm just going to put them here, put a lid on them to keep them warm. And I can finish up my hollandaise sauce. And I can toast my English muffins because I need to do that too. All right, maybe 2 more pours. Get your workout today. Get you to be able to see it. Right. I'm going to take this off the heat completely. I've got that beautiful lemon yellow color. Take it off the heat. I'm going to add some cayenne and a little bit of salt. Stir again. And that's ready to go. I turned off my boiling water for my double boiler, and I'm just going to I just dunked my spinach through a metal colander, and that's it. That's all I need to do to let it wilt just a tiny little bit. I can dump all of this, and I'm ready to send. All right, here we go. Turn this a little bit so you can see it better. I've got my English muffins. If you haven't had enough butter today, just put a little bit on the English muffin. And just use a tiny little bit just as a moistener. There we go. Just going to warm up my chicken just a little bit. We'll be ready to put it all together. All right. Chicken, a little bit of wilted spinach, slide 1 egg onto each. Whoop. Little guy got away from me. Let's stay. Here we go. If I move him, he's gonna break. Some hollandaise sauce for the whole thing. And some parsley. Breakfast is served. Happy Mother's Day.